it does work. It's called the Hierarchy formula. What I have decided to do with this chapter is I'm going to quiz you guys on Wednesday for 13.1, 5, and 6. That way it gives us time tomorrow to go over and revisit some of the law of cosine stuff that we'll do tonight, and then check anything else from the 13.1 again. Yes, sir?
Is it going to be the quiz?
I can't hear you.
Is it going to be
The quiz, the law of cosines?
Yeah.
Yes, because that's 13.6. 13.1, 13.5, 13.6. Okay? So let's take a look at what, like I said, I'm sure you guys have all seen law of cosines. It's just nasty.
Oh.
What happens
What?
What happens here is what I need you guys to think of is in a triangle. What we're thinking of here, the book likes to write out 3 different scenarios. I only really worry about one of them because it works all the time. Remember, when you're talking about sides and stuff like that, how are you, sir? Thank you, thank you. When you're talking about your sides and stuff, little a, little b, little c. What you're doing here is, remember, you're going to be given an angle and like a side angle side scenario, or just all 3 sides. So what you want to wind up doing is you just pick an angle. They're saying angle A. This allows you to work with side, angle, side. So wherever you shift this angle around, whether it's over here at C or over here at B, you're still dealing with the side angle side scenario. That's why they show all those different letterings. Okay? If you know one of them, you know the rest. Here's what happens. You take your side opposite, square it, equals the square of the other 2. Then you subtract 2 times the sides that make up the angle and the cosine of it. It seems weird. It seems overly complicated for what it is. But remember, what you're doing here is you're working with side angle side. You're working with the square, the sum of the squares of the sides, subtracting twice, multiplying together times the cosine of the angle. And that works going all the way around the triangle. That's why it's little c squared is b squared plus a squared minus 2ab, and so on and so forth. That's why they write it out 3 different ways. Because there's 3 different scenarios. Yes, sir?
Is there a law of angles?
No. Someone asks that every time.
Where is
The lot of what?
Tangents.
There's no.
What's that?
chapter 13.2?
We haven't done that yet. I wanted to, remember I talked about that last week?
I know.
Yeah, no worries. All right. So again, let me show you guys, let me write this up on the board so we have it. Remember, Gunn, the reason why I'm going out of order here is because the trig review from 13.1 is the same stuff we do with law of sines, law of cosines. You don't need to worry about any of the radians stuff. So that's why I'm just splitting the chapter into 2. So let's take a look at an example. Again, this is the side angle side scenario where you're going to be given an angle and the 2 sides that make up the angle. Little a is 12, little c is 16, sorry, and 38. Okay. Excuse me. Again, I'm going to solve for little b first. By solving for little b squared, again, it's going to be 16 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 16 times 12 times the cosine of 38. Again, what happens here, the lettering is generic. The lettering is generic. Notice how this is opposite the given angle? That's all I'm dealing with. Think of it in terms of opposite the given angle. The letters just would shift themselves around. Now, what's nice is that you can type that directly into your calculator. 16 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 16 times 12 cosine 38, hit enter. And I'm getting 97.4 and change. Okay. Now, that's going to equal b squared. You agree? So what do? Square root. So you hit second square root of your answer and hit enter. We're getting 9.87. Anybody agree? Now, once you find a side opposite a given angle, what are you going to use? Sines. Yeah, use law of sines now. The only thing that happens a lot of times when you're dealing with law of cosines is that if you're wrong right off the bat, you're just kind of up a creek.
Done.
Yeah, you're done. You're up a creek. We don't sell paddles. So. Sine of A is to 12 as sine of B, which is 38, is to 9.87. And you guys know how to solve it out from there. I'm getting C as 48.46. Does anybody agree? And then angle A is very, very easy. Just subtract it out from 180. Okay. Oh, thank you.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah, sorry about that. Just change your letters. All right, and then C, just subtract everything up from 180. And we get 93.54. Okay? What's that? Oh, it's just a really old one that I found lying around. No, it's a very old one. Okay? And it is an 83. Now let's look at the really weird scenario.
Oh, jeez.
There always is a weird scenario because it's math and that's how things work. It's what they call the side.
Oh, Harold went too.
Again, so here's what happens. When you have the side, you have to figure out which angle you want to solve for first. My suggestion is to go with what will always be the largest angle. If I'm looking at this setup here, which one of these angles is going to have to be the largest? B. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the law of cosines to solve for angle B, which means I know at the end it's going to be the cosine of B, which means I'm going to work with the side opposite it. 18 squared equals 8 squared plus 13 squared minus 2 times 8 times 13. And I get that. Are we okay with that? What I'm doing here again is I'm solving for the largest angle within the triangle. If you fall back on that rule, or that hint, if you will, you're going to run into less likely of issues with, will it work, will it not work, that kind of stuff. So again, this is just nothing more than a nasty looking equation that has one variable. So in my calculator, all I have to do is this: 18 squared minus 8 squared minus 13 squared, and hit enter. And I get this. Everybody agree? Notice I just brought down the negative 2 because I'm subtracting 2 times 18 and all that. How do I undo that multiplier? Divide. So now I'm going to take my calculator and divide by parentheses negative 2 times 8 times 13. Hit enter. Yeah. How do you get the angle then? Remember?
Inverse.
Inverse, good.
Wait,
Yes, sir.
between the first and second step, how do you get rid of the 8 squared plus 13 squared?
I subtracted. I did 18 squared minus this minus this. Okay. Again, when you do a couple of these, it works out real easy. You're basically doing all of it on the calculator. Now, here's why, again, the cosine value is a negative. How many degrees do we wind up with for the angle? What, 115? If I drew that in a coordinate grid, this is 90 degrees straight up here, correct? That means the angle's over here.
That's right.
So what happens is cosine of an angle in the second quadrant is negative. That's why that happened to be a negative value. Okay. So now, again, that you know angle B at 115.94, how are you going to solve for angle C or angle A? What are you going to use? Use law of sines. It's usually a little bit quicker. Once you get one of the angles from law of cosines, switch to the sine. Okay. And again, I go in descending order, go right for the next largest angle. Sine of 115.94 is the 18. So 13 sine 115.94 divided by 18. Second sine of the answer, 40.5. And subtract that from 180, 2356. Yes, sir.
Okay, so after you got 91, what did you do with the negative 2 times 8 times 13?
Divide. Remember, what's going to happen here is this is just some number times the cosine of b. I didn't figure out what it was just by writing it out. Okay. Is how that one works through. These are usually the trickiest ones when you have just the three sides because there's a lot going on algebraically that you don't really need to show the work on. Let me show you another one real quick like that. Again, if I'm using this, what will be the angle I'm going to find first? A. All right, I'm going to use A again to start with. So I know that A squared is 55 squared plus 61 squared minus 2 times 55 times 61 cosine of A. Now let me walk you through how I do this on the calculator. Flip my head over. I know that I have to subtract the 55 squared and the 61 squared. So I take 100 squared minus 55 squared minus 61 squared, and I get this. That equals negative 2 times 55 times 61 times the cosine. So I can divide this and just put parentheses, 2 times 55 times 61. Close the parentheses, hit enter. Oh, that's supposed to be negative, so I'm just going to multiply it by a negative real quick. So it's a negative value. Everybody see what I did there? I forgot to put the negative in, so I just multiply it by a negative real fast in the calculator. All right. Daisy, you had your arm going up there. All right, well, you might have a mode, might be a thing with your mode. If you hit your mode, are you on like a float? Change that out. I think you have to move it all the way to the back. Move it to where it just says float. I'll come back there in a second. So right now, the cosine of the angle is going to equal this negative nastiness, so just its second cosine of the answer. And there's your angle, 119. Come on. Oh, just make sure it's yeah, I accidentally said that. Yes, sir. no doubt.
Anyone remember you?
Yes, sir.
When you got that big number, like 5458585, remember that? What did you do to it again? No, but you like multiplied by a negative or something.
Yeah, that 0.484 whatever. I forgot to divide it by the negative. Forgot to bring my negative here.
Oh.
So I just changed it real quick by multiplying it by a negative
Yeah,
one.
now I get it.
That was my fault for having
Yeah,
instead of
that's
having to
what I did.
retype the whole thing in. That's all it was.
Yeah.
That was my error. Okay. And then from there you get 119. So what would we say? 119. Now just use law of sines to find angle C. So the sine 119 is to 100. The sine of C is to 61. Okay? And you guys can go from there, right? What time are we done this one? 12:02?
1202, I think, on the, yeah.
Okay. Do this one then real fast. Bless you. Yeah, I got 119.
Alright.